The great council chamber of Velthora stretched wider than any stadium on Earth. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the floating platforms that circled the central speaking stage. Some had scales, others had fur, and many had features that defied easy description. They represented the Galactic Empire, a civilization that had ruled the stars for over 10,000 years. Ambassador Krell stood at the center platform, his forearms clasped together in the traditional gesture of serious concern. His gray skin looked pale under the bright lights, and his large black eyes scanned the crowd nervously. He had traveled for 3 months to reach this place, carrying information he believed could change the future of the entire galaxy. "Honored council members," Krell began, his voice amplified across the massive chamber. "I come before you today to discuss a newly discovered species on a planet they call Earth. This species calls themselves humans, and I believe they represent a significant future threat to our empire." A wave of amused chittering and low growls rippled through the audience. Several council members exchanged glances that clearly said they thought Krell was wasting their time. "These creatures are primitive," Krell continued, bringing up a holographic display that showed images of Earth. The blue and green planet rotated slowly in the air above him. "They have not yet achieved faster-than-light travel. They have barely left their homeworld, but I have studied them for 5 years, and what I have learned disturbs me greatly." High Counselor Thane, a massive being with thick armor plating and 6 legs, leaned forward on his platform. "Ambassador Krell, this council oversees 50,000 star systems. We have integrated thousands of species into our empire. Why should we concern ourselves with primitives who cannot even leave their own planet?" Krell took a deep breath. He had expected this reaction, but he had to make them understand. "Because these humans are different from any species we have encountered before. Allow me to present my findings." The holographic display changed to show various scenes of human life. Krell had spent years collecting this data, using hidden observation satellites that the humans never detected. "First, their adaptability," Krell said. "Humans live in every environment on their planet. From frozen wastelands where temperatures drop below -40 degrees, to burning deserts where water is scarce, to dense jungles, high mountains, and small islands. No other species in our records has naturally spread to such diverse environments on their home world." "Many species adapt to different climates," Counselor Vex interrupted, her snake-like body coiling with impatience. "This is not unusual." "It is the degree that concerns me," Krell replied. "But there is more. Observe their physical capabilities." The display showed human athletes running, jumping, and competing in various sports. Then it switched to show human soldiers on training exercises. "Humans are endurance hunters," Krell explained. "On their world, they can chase prey animals for hours, even days, until the animal collapses from exhaustion. Their bodies cool through sweat, allowing them to run in heat that would kill most predators. They heal quickly from injuries that would be fatal to many species. They can survive for weeks without food and days without water." General Vorath, the head of the Imperial military, laughed from his platform. "They look weak. I could break one in half with my bare hands. They have no natural armor, no claws, no venom. What am I supposed to fear from these hairless apes?" Other council members joined in the laughter. Krell felt his frustration growing, but he pressed on. "Physical strength is not their advantage," he said firmly. "It is their minds. Watch this." The display showed human history in fast forward. Stone tools gave way to bronze, then iron, then steel. Simple villages became cities. Horses and carts were replaced by machines. "They discovered fire less than 1 million years ago," Krell said. "They developed agriculture only 10,000 years ago. But look at their progress in just the last 200 years. The images accelerated. Humans built massive factories. They created flying machines. They split the atom and harnessed its power. They sent ships to their moon. They built computers and global communication networks. From first-powered flight to nuclear weapons in 42 years, Krell stated, letting that fact sink in. From first spaceflight to landing on their moon in 12 years. Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented in galactic history. The chamber grew quieter. A few council members leaned forward with interest. "But technology alone is not what concerns me most," Krell continued. "It is their nature. Humans are pack-bonding species. They form deep emotional attachments not just to their own kind, but to other species, even to inanimate objects. They name their ships and machines. They adopt predators from their world as companions and call them pets. This makes them sound harmless," Counselor Thane observed. "No," Krell said sharply. It makes them dangerous. Because humans extend this bonding to ideas. They bond to concepts like freedom, justice, and loyalty, and they will die for these concepts. New images appeared. Human warriors throughout history. Soldiers charging into certain death. Pilots flying suicide missions. Civilians standing against tanks. Humans have fought wars continuously throughout their recorded history, Krell explained. They have never had true global peace. But observe what they fight for. Sometimes resources, yes. Sometimes territory. But often they fight for ideas. For religion, for political systems, for the freedom of people they have never met. They fight each other, General Vorath noted. This shows they are divided weak. It shows they are passionate, Krell countered. And when united against a common enemy, they become unstoppable. Study their history. Time and again, when faced with extinction, they fight harder. When told to surrender, they refuse. When given impossible odds, they try anyway. The display showed more scenes. The last stands of human armies. Scientists working through the night. Rescue workers running toward danger instead of away from it. They have a saying, Krell said quietly. Rage against the dying of the light. It means to fight even when defeat is certain. To struggle against the inevitable. This is not rational behavior. This is not how most species think, but it is how humans think. You are being dramatic, Ambassador, High Counselor Thane said dismissively. These creatures are confined to one planet. They do not even have fusion power yet. By the time they reach the stars, our empire will be even stronger. If they cause problems, we will simply subjugate them as we have countless others. That is my fear, Krell said urgently. If we approach them as conquerors, if we try to dominate them, they will resist. And their resistance will be unlike anything we have faced. They will not accept subjugation. They will fight total war. They will use every resource, sacrifice everything, and they will never ever surrender. General Vorath stood up on his platform, his massive form casting a shadow. Then we will destroy them completely. If they resist, we will make an example of their planet. One orbital bombardment and the problem is solved. And that, Krell said sadly, would be genocide. Is that what our empire has become? Do we destroy species because they might be difficult to control? The chamber erupted in arguments. Some supported Krell's concerns. Most dismissed them. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the vote was clear. Ambassador Krell, High Counselor Thane announced, your warning is noted and will be entered into the Imperial Archives. However, this council sees no immediate threat from the humans. We will continue to monitor them, but no action will be taken at this time. This species is simply too primitive to warrant our concern. Krell bowed, accepting the decision even though his heart felt heavy. He had done his duty. He had warned them. But he knew with terrible certainty that they had made a mistake. As he left the council chamber, Krell paused at the door and looked back at the thousands of council members already moving on to other business. He whispered to himself, I hope I am wrong. For all our sakes, I hope I'm wrong. But Ambassador Krell was not wrong. He was simply 75 years too early. And by the time the Galactic Empire realized he had been right all along, it would be far too late to avoid the storm that was coming. The warning was filed in the archives, stored in digital memory alongside millions of other reports. It sat there unread and forgotten while on a distant blue planet, humanity continued to grow, to learn, and to reach for the stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UESS Pathfinder, watching the strange ships through the main viewing screen. They were enormous, each one at least 3 times the size of her colony vessel. Their hulls gleamed with an odd metallic sheen that seemed to shift colors in the light of the nearby star. Are they responding to our hails? Sarah asked her communications officer. Yes, Captain, Lieutenant Park replied, adjusting his headset. They're transmitting on multiple frequencies. The computer is working on translation now. Sarah took a deep breath. This was it. First contact with alien life. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. They had sent out colony ships to explore and settle new worlds, always wondering if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. The colony ship Pathfinder had been heading to establish a settlement on the 4th planet of the Kepler system when they detected the massive mining operation. Hundreds of smaller craft moved between asteroids, extracting minerals with technology that looked decades ahead of anything humans possessed. Translation coming through now. Captain, Park announced. A harsh clicking voice filled the bridge. The computer struggled to convert it into English. Unknown vessel. You are in restricted Imperial space. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed. Sarah felt her heart rate increase, but she kept her voice calm and professional. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Exploratory Service ship Pathfinder. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations. There was a long pause. The alien ships did not move or respond. Sarah could feel the tension on her bridge. Every member of her crew was watching, waiting. Finally, the voice returned. You will hold position. A representative will board your vessel. Understood, Sarah replied. She turned to her first officer, Commander James Rodriguez. Prepare a reception in Docking Bay 2. Full honor guard, but weapons secured. Let's make a good first impression. 2 hours later, Sarah stood in the docking bay with 20 crew members arranged in formation behind her. They all wore their best uniforms. A small alien shuttle had attached to the Pathfinder's docking port, and now the airlock was cycling open. The aliens who emerged were tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces were angular, with large dark eyes and no visible nose. They wore elaborate robes that marked them as officials of some kind. 6 armed guards accompanied them, carrying weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. The lead alien stepped forward. A small device on his chest spoke in English. I am Prefect Zahn, regional governor of this sector. You are humans from the planet Earth, it was not a question. Sarah felt a chill. Yes, Prefect. I am honored to meet you. We had no idea this region was claimed. We would be grateful for any information about your civilization and how we might coexist peacefully. Prefect Zahn looked at her the way someone might look at an insect. His large eyes showed no warmth or welcome. Coexist? You misunderstand your position, human. This galaxy belongs to the Galactic Empire. It has for 10,000 years. You are primitives who have stumbled into space without permission. Sarah felt anger rising in her chest, but she pushed it down. She had trained for difficult negotiations. Prefect Zahn, humanity has no desire for conflict. We simply wish to explore and settle new worlds. The galaxy is vast. Surely there is room for all of us. Room is not the issue, Zahn replied coldly. Authority is the issue. The Empire maintains order across 50,000 star systems. We cannot allow random species to spread unchecked through space. It creates chaos. Then perhaps we could join your empire as partners, Sarah suggested. We could share our knowledge and resources. Zahn made a sound that might have been laughter. Partners? You have nothing we want, human. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are weak. You have 3 systems with human settlements, correct? Sarah hesitated. That information was supposed to be secret. How do you know that? We know everything that happens in our galaxy, Zahn said. We have been watching your species for 75 years. We know about Earth, about your colony on Mars, about your settlements in the Alpha Centauri system, and here in Kepler. We know how many ships you have, how many weapons, how many people. The revelation shocked Sarah. Humanity thought they were alone, exploring an empty galaxy, but they had been watched this entire time, studied like animals in a zoo. Since you already know so much about us, Sarah said carefully, then you know we are a peaceful species seeking only to survive and grow. Peaceful? Zahn tilted his head. We have observed your wars, human. We have watched you kill millions of your own kind. Do not speak to me of peace. Those wars are in our past, Sarah protested. We have united as a species. We have learned from our mistakes. Perhaps, Zahn acknowledged, but that is irrelevant. Here are the terms you will accept. Humanity will confine itself to the 3 systems you currently occupy. You will not expand further. You will not develop weapons beyond your current level. You will pay annual tribute to the Empire in the form of resources and technology. In exchange, we will allow you to continue existing. Sarah felt her hands clench into fists. Those terms are unacceptable. We cannot agree to stop our expansion. We need room to grow. Our population is increasing. Then decrease it, Zahn said simply, or find ways to support more people in less space. These are not my concerns. These are my terms. You have 1 standard rotation to agree. If you refuse, we will implement corrective measures. Corrective measures? What does that mean? It means we will destroy your settlements one by one until you understand your place in the galaxy, Zahn said without emotion. This is not negotiable. You are primitives. We are the Empire. Comply or be eliminated. Sarah felt her crew stirring behind her. She could sense their anger, their fear. She took a step closer to Zahn, looking up at the tall alien. Prefect, you are making a terrible mistake. Humanity will not accept enslavement. If you threaten us, you will force us to defend ourselves. Zahn looked down at her with something like pity. Defend yourselves. Human, your entire species has fewer than 100 ships capable of leaving your star systems. The Empire has millions of warships. You have kinetic weapons and primitive missiles. We have energy weapons that can destroy planets. You have no shields, no faster-than-light weapons, no quantum computing. You are children playing with toys. Children grow up, Sarah said quietly. Not if they are taught their place first, Zahn replied. He turned to leave, his guards following. At the airlock, he paused and looked back. One rotation, Captain Chen. Consider carefully. The Empire has subjugated thousands of species. Some accepted their place peacefully and were treated well. Others resisted and were destroyed. Choose wisely. The aliens departed, leaving Sarah and her crew standing in the docking bay. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Commander Rodriguez stepped forward. Captain, we need to warn Earth immediately. We need to prepare defenses. Sarah nodded slowly. Send an encrypted message to Earth Command. Send copies to all human settlements. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we have 1 day to respond to an ultimatum we cannot accept. Should we try to negotiate further? Rodriguez asked. No, Sarah said firmly. Zahn is not interested in negotiation. He wants submission. And that is something humanity will never give. She walked to the viewing port and looked out at the alien ships. They floated in space like sleeping giants, confident in their power. They had no idea what they had just done. They had given humanity a choice between slavery and war. Send another message, Sarah said. To all colony ships and outposts? Begin fortification procedures. Stockpile weapons and supplies. Prepare evacuation plans for civilians. If they want to fight, we will give them one. Captain, Rodriguez said hesitantly. You heard what he said. They have millions of ships. We have barely 100. How can we possibly win? Sarah turned to face her first officer. Maybe we cannot win. Maybe they are too strong, too advanced, too numerous. But that does not matter. What matters is that we try. What matters is that we fight for our freedom. Because if we surrender now, if we accept their chains without resistance, then we stop being human. Deep in the Imperial archives, buried in digital memory, Ambassador Krell's warning waited silently. An automated system flagged it as potentially relevant to current events. A junior clerk reviewed the flag, read the summary, and dismissed it as outdated paranoia from a nervous explorer. The full report was never sent to Prefect Zahn or General Vorath. If they had read it, they might have understood what was about to happen. They might have realized that threatening humanity was not like threatening other species. They might have known that humans, when given a choice between submission and extinction, would choose to fight. But they did not read the warning. They did not know, and by the time they learned, it would be too late to stop what they had started. In the Kepler system, the human colony ship Pathfinder began broadcasting messages to every human settlement in space. The message was simple. We have been discovered. We have been threatened. We have 1 day to prepare. Stand ready for Earth, for humanity, for freedom. And across 3 star systems, humanity began to prepare for war. Prefect Zahn sat in his command chair aboard the Imperial warship Domination, watching the countdown timer with satisfaction. The human deadline had expired 3 hours ago. They had sent no response, no plea for mercy, no agreement to his terms. Their silence was their answer. How foolish, Zahn muttered to his first officer. They actually believe they can resist the Empire. The fleet is ready, Prefect, the officer reported. 50 warships, all fully armed. Our intelligence shows the humans have gathered only 15 ships in the Kepler system. They have evacuated most civilians to the planet's surface. 15 ships. Zahn laughed. They send 15 ships against 50? This will not be a battle. It will be an execution. The fleet advanced toward the human colony. Through the viewing screens, Zahn could see the human vessels arranged in a defensive formation near the 4th planet. They were crude things, built for transport and mining rather than war. The humans had welded weapons to the hulls, added armor plating, and covered them with makeshift shields. It looked desperate and pathetic. Broadcast on all frequencies, Zahn ordered. Tell them they have one final chance to surrender. The communication went out. Zahn waited, expecting the humans to see sense now that they faced overwhelming force. But the response that came back surprised him. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UESS Pathfinder. We reject your terms. We reject your authority. We will defend our people and our freedom with our last breath. If you want our submission, you will have to take it by force. Zahn felt genuine confusion. Are they insane? Do they not understand they will die? His first officer checked the sensors. Prefect, the human ships are moving. They are advancing toward us. They attack? Zahn could not believe it. 15 ships attack 50? This is suicide. Should we fire, Prefect? Yes, Zahn said coldly. Destroy them. Make it quick. The Imperial fleet opened fire. Energy weapons lanced across space, brilliant beams of concentrated power that could cut through asteroids. The first volley struck the leading human ships, and their shields flared and collapsed almost immediately. 2 human vessels broke apart, torn to pieces by Imperial firepower. But the humans did not retreat. They accelerated toward the Imperial fleet, returning fire with their primitive kinetic weapons. Railgun slugs and missiles streaked toward the Imperial ships. The weapons were slow and predictable. Imperial shields absorbed them easily. Pathetic, Zahn said. End this quickly. I have a schedule to maintain. But then something unexpected happened. 3 human ships broke formation and accelerated at maximum speed directly toward the Imperial fleet. They were not firing weapons. They were not attempting evasive maneuvers. They were simply rushing forward at full thrust. What are they doing? Zahn demanded. Prefect, those ships have armed their nuclear reactors for overload. They are going to ram us. Shoot them down immediately. Imperial weapons focused on the 3 ships. Energy beams tore into them, ripping through hulls and destroying systems. One ship exploded in a brilliant flash. Another spun out of control, leaking atmosphere and debris. But the third ship, the Pathfinder itself, kept coming even as it was torn apart. The dying ship crashed into an Imperial cruiser at tremendous speed. The nuclear reactor detonated on impact. The explosion was massive, a miniature sun that vaporized both vessels instantly. The shockwave damaged 2 nearby Imperial ships, overloading their shields and sending them spinning away. Zahn stood up from his command chair, shocked. They killed themselves. They deliberately killed themselves. 3 more human ships approaching on suicide runs, his officer reported. And the remaining ships are spreading out, targeting our flanks. All ships, defensive formation. Focus fire on the kamikaze vessels. The battle descended into chaos. The humans fought with a ferocity that Zahn had never encountered. They used every dirty trick, every desperate tactic. They fired nuclear missiles disguised as debris. They hacked into Imperial communication frequencies, creating confusion. They coordinated attacks with precision, multiple ships targeting the same Imperial vessel to overwhelm its shields. And when their ships were too damaged to fight, they rammed them into Imperial vessels. Every single time. They are not fighting like rational beings, Zahn's first officer said, fear creeping into his voice. They are fighting like animals cornered with no escape. Because they know they have no escape, Zahn replied. But he felt uneasy. This was not how battles were supposed to go. Inferior forces were supposed to recognize their weakness and surrender. They were not supposed to fight harder. An Imperial destroyer exploded as human ships concentrated fire on its reactor core. Another was crippled by a railgun slug that somehow penetrated its shields at point-blank range. A third was disabled when a damaged human ship crashed into its engine section. How many have we lost? Zahn demanded. 17 ships destroyed, 6 more damaged and withdrawing. And the humans? All 15 human ships destroyed. But Prefect, they took nearly half our fleet with them. Zahn could not process this. 50 Imperial warships against 15 human vessels should have been a complete victory with minimal losses. Instead, the humans had fought so viciously, so desperately, that they had inflicted terrible damage. Scan the planet, Zahn ordered. Find their military installations. We will bombard them from orbit. Prefect, we are detecting thousands of launches from the planet's surface. They are firing everything they have. The planet below unleashed a storm of missiles, thousands of them rising on pillars of fire. They were crude weapons barely capable of reaching orbit. But there were so many of them. The Imperial fleet's defensive systems engaged, shooting down missile after missile, but some got through. A missile struck the Domination's shields, detonating with the force of 100 megatons. The shields held, but the ship shook violently. More missiles followed. The sky was full of them, an endless barrage of nuclear fire. They are using atomic weapons on their own orbit, Zahn said in disbelief. They are contaminating their own space. They do not seem to care, Prefect. They only want to hurt us and hurt the Imperial fleet, they did. 3 more ships were destroyed by the missile barrage. Others were damaged. The fleet was forced to retreat to higher orbit, beyond the range of the planet-based weapons. Zahn stood among the wreckage of his pride, trying to understand what had happened. He had brought overwhelming force. He had followed proper Imperial doctrine. He should have crushed these primitives without effort. Instead, he had barely won, and at a cost that would shame him before the Council. "Prefect, we have a message from the planet's surface," the communications officer reported. "It is Captain Chen." "Chen?" "Her ship was destroyed. I saw it explode. She must have evacuated beforehand." "The message is playing now." Sarah Chen's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, her uniform torn and dirty. Behind her, Zahn could see wounded humans being treated in what looked like an underground bunker. But her eyes burned with fierce determination. "Prefect Zahn," she said, "you have won this battle. But you have not won the war. You destroyed 15 ships, but we destroyed 23 of yours. You have greater numbers, better technology, more experience. But we have something you do not understand. We have the will to resist no matter the cost." "You are defeated," Zahn replied, though she could not hear him. "You have nothing left," but Chen continued. "You came here to teach us our place, to show us we cannot resist the Empire. But you have taught us something different. You have taught us that we can hurt you, that your ships can burn, that your soldiers can die. You wanted to frighten us into submission. Instead, you have shown us that resistance is possible." She leaned closer to the camera. "Go back to your council, Prefect. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that 15 human ships fought 50 Imperial warships and made you bleed. Tell them that we will never surrender. Tell them that every system you attack will cost you dearly. Tell them that if they want to destroy humanity, they will pay for every inch in blood." The message ended. Zahn stared at the blank screen. Around him, his bridge crew worked in silence, tending to damaged systems and counting their losses. "Prefect," his first officer said quietly, "what are your orders?" Zahn thought carefully. He could order an orbital bombardment, destroy every city on the planet below. But that would make him a war criminal in the eyes of the galaxy. The Empire ruled through strength, but also through the appearance of civilization. Genocide would undermine that image. "We withdraw," Zahn said finally. "But I am requesting reinforcements. A full battle fleet, 500 ships. These humans must be crushed completely before they inspire others to resist." "Yes, Prefect." As the damaged Imperial fleet retreated from the Kepler system, Zahn composed his report to the High Council. He chose his words carefully, minimizing his losses, emphasizing the eventual victory. But he could not hide the truth completely. He had won, but barely. The humans had fought like demons. On the planet below, Sarah Chen watched the Imperial ships depart. Around her, exhausted humans celebrated their survival. They had lost 15 ships and thousands of crew members. But they had survived. They had fought the mighty Galactic Empire and lived to tell the tale. "They will come back," Commander Rodriguez said, "with more ships next time." "I know," Sarah replied, "but we will be ready. And this time, the rest of humanity will know what we face. They will prepare. They will be 5 years had passed since the Battle of Kepler 442, and the galaxy had changed in ways that nobody could have predicted. What started as a simple show of Imperial force had exploded into the largest war the galaxy had seen in 2,000 years. General Vorath stood in the Imperial war room, studying the holographic map of the conflict zone. Red markers showed human-controlled systems. Blue markers showed Imperial forces. The map was a mess of colors, with battle zones marked in purple and contested territories in yellow. It looked nothing like the clean, organized conquest the Empire usually conducted. "Report," Vorath ordered his staff. Admiral Kelrin stepped forward, his 6 legs clicking on the metal floor. "General, we have committed over 12,000 warships to the human conflict. We control the majority of territory and have destroyed approximately 3,000 human vessels. By all conventional measurements, we are winning. And yet the humans continue to fight," Vorath said grimly. "Why?" "They are irrational, General. They take losses that would force any other species to surrender, and they simply build more ships. They train more soldiers. They adapt and continue fighting." Vorath turned to face his admiral. "They are not irrational. They are desperate, and desperation makes them dangerous. What is our current loss count?" Kelrin hesitated. 4,200 ships destroyed, another 1,600 damaged beyond immediate repair. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. The Empire had never lost so many ships in a single conflict. They had the resources to replace them, but the psychological impact was devastating. The mighty Imperial fleet, undefeated for millennia, was bleeding. How are they doing this? Vorath demanded. They are primitives. Their technology is inferior. Their ships are smaller and weaker. Every engagement should be a victory for us. They do not fight like we do, Kelrin explained. They do not follow the rules of civilized warfare. They use tactics we consider dishonorable or insane. Suicide attacks, false surrenders, civilian ships loaded with bombs, asteroid weapons, biological agents, and something new they call guerrilla warfare. Vorath had read the reports about human guerrilla tactics. Small teams of human soldiers infiltrating Imperial-controlled stations. They sabotaged equipment, assassinated officers, destroyed supply depots, and disappeared before Imperial forces could respond. They fought dirty, using every trick and deception available. Show me the latest incident, Vorath said. The holographic display changed to show security footage from an Imperial supply base. Everything appeared normal until the video showed a massive explosion that destroyed the entire facility. Thousands of tons of weapons, ammunition, and fuel vanished in seconds. The base had a full security detail, Kelrin explained. Shields, sensors, regular patrols, but somehow a team of 6 humans infiltrated over the course of 3 weeks. They lived inside the ventilation systems, moving at night, planting explosives throughout the structure. When they detonated their charges, they destroyed supplies meant to support a battle fleet for 6 months. And the human team. They died in the explosion. They knew it was a suicide mission. Vorath shook his head. This is what I do not understand. Why do they sacrifice themselves so willingly? What drives them to throw their lives away? A new voice spoke from the doorway. Because they believe in something greater than themselves. Vorath turned to see Ambassador Krell entering the war room. The old explorer looked even more tired than Vorath remembered. His gray skin was pale, and his forearms trembled slightly with age. Ambassador, Vorath acknowledged. You requested this meeting. I assume you have something important to share. I do, Krell replied. I have been studying the humans since this war began. I have watched their broadcasts, intercepted their communications, analyzed their behavior. I finally understand them, General. And what I understand terrifies me. Explain. Krell moved to the holographic display and brought up images of human culture. Art, music, literature, and history. Humans are a young species, but they have a concept that few others possess to such a degree. They call it hope. They believe that the future can be better than the present, that they can change their circumstances through effort and sacrifice. Many species hope for better futures, Vorath said dismissively. Not like humans, Krell insisted. For them, hope is not passive. It is active. It is a weapon. When you tell a human something is impossible, they take it as a challenge. When you tell them they cannot win, they fight harder to prove you wrong. And when you threaten to destroy them, they unite in ways you cannot imagine. Krell changed the display to show human military production. Look at this. 5 years ago, humans had fewer than 100 ships capable of combat. Today, they have over 4,000. They have converted their entire civilization to war production. Factories that made consumer goods now make weapons. Scientists who studied medicine now design bombs. Children who should be in schools are learning to fight. That cannot be sustainable, Admiral Kelrin protested. They will exhaust their resources. That is what we thought, Krell said. But they keep finding new resources. They mine asteroids. They strip moons. They have even begun dismantling some of their own cities for metal, and their technology is improving at a frightening rate. The display showed captured human weapons. 5 years ago, their railguns could barely penetrate our shields. Now they have learned to modulate frequencies to match our shield harmonics. They have reverse-engineered our energy weapons. They have developed their own shield technology, primitive but effective. Vorath studied the weapons carefully. They are learning from us. Faster than any species we have ever encountered, Krell confirmed. Every battle teaches them. Every captured ship is studied and copied. They adapt within months what should take decades. And they are starting to innovate beyond mere copying. Krell brought up a new image showing a strange device. This is what human scientists call quantum entanglement communication. It allows instant communication across any distance. We abandoned this technology centuries ago because it was too expensive and difficult to implement widely. But humans have made it work. Their fleets can now coordinate perfectly across multiple star systems simultaneously. The implications struck Vorath immediately. That negates our numerical advantage. If they can coordinate their forces instantly, they can respond to our movements in real time. Exactly, Krell said. They are no longer fighting blind. They know where every Imperial fleet is located. They strike our supply lines, our mining operations, our isolated outposts. They avoid direct confrontation unless they have an advantage, and they retreat before we can bring our full strength to bear. Admiral Kelran made a frustrated sound. This is not proper warfare. This is cowardice. No, Vorath said quietly. This is asymmetric warfare. They are weaker, so they change the rules. They cannot win a direct fight, so they avoid direct fights. And every day we chase them. Every ship we lose to their ambushes, we grow weaker while they grow stronger. There is something else, Krell said grimly. The humans are broadcasting their resistance across the galaxy. They are inspiring other species. The display showed news from across the Empire, small rebellions on a dozen worlds. Species that had been peacefully integrated for centuries suddenly demanding independence. Protests, riots, and in some cases open warfare. They are using a human concept called propaganda, Krell explained. They tell stories about their victories, about standing up to impossible odds, about freedom and self-determination. And these stories spread like fire. Every species that has ever resented Imperial rule is watching the humans and thinking maybe they can resist too. Vorath felt something cold settling in his chest. This was not just a military problem anymore. This was an existential threat to the Empire itself. If other species began fighting like the humans, if rebellion spread across the galaxy, the Empire would collapse under the weight of constant warfare. What do you recommend? Vorath asked. Krell was silent for a long moment. I recommend we negotiate peace. Peace. Admiral Kelran was outraged. We do not negotiate with primitives. We have more ships, more resources, more territory. We can still win this war, can we? Krell challenged. At what cost? How many more ships will we lose? How many more rebellions will spark? How many more years will we spend chasing human fleets across the galaxy, while our own systems burn? The Council will never accept peace, Vorath said. Not after losing so many ships. They will see it as weakness. Then they are fools, Krell said bluntly. I tried to warn the Council 75 years ago. I told them that humans were dangerous. I told them that if we made them our enemy, we would regret it. They laughed at me. They called me paranoid. And now look at us. Vorath pulled up the old report that Krell had filed decades ago. He had read it many times in the past 5 years. Every prediction had come true. The adaptability, the desperation, the willingness to fight total war, it was all there. Written down by an explorer who had watched humanity for 5 years and understood what they could become. Why did we not listen? Vorath wondered aloud. Because humans seemed weak, Krell replied. They had no claws, no armor, no great strength. We judged them. The peace negotiations took place on a neutral station at the edge of contested space. The station was ancient, built by a long-dead civilization, and had been maintained by the Empire as a place for diplomatic meetings. Today it would host the most important negotiation in galactic history. Admiral Sarah Chen walked through the corridors with her security team. She was older now. Her hair streaked with gray, her face lined with the weight of 5 years of war. She wore the uniform of the Terran Commonwealth Defense Force, a new organization created to unite all human military forces under one command. Across from her in the negotiation chamber sat General Vorath and Ambassador Krell. The old general looked tired, his massive form seeming somehow diminished. Krell's forearms were folded in a gesture of cautious respect. Admiral Chen, Vorath began, we are here to discuss terms for ending this conflict. Sarah sat down across from them. General Vorath, Ambassador Krell, I must admit I never thought I would see this day. The mighty Galactic Empire seeking peace. Do not mistake our intentions, Vorath said carefully. We are not surrendering. We could continue this war and eventually overwhelm you through sheer numbers. Perhaps, Sarah acknowledged. But at what cost? You have lost over 8,000 ships in 5 years. How many more are you willing to lose? How many more rebellions are you willing to face as other species follow our example? The truth of her words hung in the air. The Empire was bleeding from 1,000 cuts. The war with humanity had sparked uprisings across 30 systems. Species that had accepted imperial rule for centuries suddenly demanded freedom. The Empire was strong, but it was not infinite. What are your terms? Vorath asked. Sarah activated a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. Humanity will control and govern 72 systems. These systems will be recognized as sovereign territory of the Terran Commonwealth. We will maintain our own military and government without imperial interference. 72 systems? Vorath's voice showed surprise. You currently control only 37. True, Sarah admitted. But we need room to grow. Our population is expanding rapidly. We need space for colonies, resources for industry, and buffer zones for security. If you want this war to end, you must give us room to exist without feeling threatened. Krell spoke for the first time. Those seem like reasonable terms, General. We could grant them this space without significantly impacting Imperial holdings. What else? Vorath asked. The Empire will acknowledge humanity as an independent civilization with full rights under galactic law. You will not interfere in our internal affairs, and we will not interfere in yours. We will establish trade agreements and diplomatic relations as equals, not as conquerors and conquered. Equals. Vorath's tone was skeptical. Your entire civilization is contained in fewer than 100 systems. The Empire spans 50,000. Size does not determine equality, Sarah replied. Respect does. You approached us as primitives to be subjugated. We showed you that we are a people who will fight for our freedom. Now you must choose. Will you accept us as equals? Or will this war continue until one of us is destroyed? Vorath was silent for a long moment. Finally he spoke. The Council will not easily accept these terms. They see this as weakness. Then they are fools, Sarah said bluntly, echoing Krell's words from years ago. This war is destroying your empire from within. Every day it continues, you lose ships, resources, and the loyalty of subjugated species. We have proven we cannot be easily defeated. The question is whether you are wise enough to accept peace before the cost becomes unbearable. And if we refuse? Vorath asked. If we choose to continue the war until humanity is eliminated? Sarah leaned forward, her eyes hard. Then we will fight. We will fight with every ship, every weapon, every person. We will make you pay for every system you take. We will strike your supply lines, sabotage your infrastructure, and inspire every oppressed species in your empire to rebel. You might destroy us eventually, but the empire will collapse in the process. Is that what you want? Mutual destruction? Krell spoke softly. She speaks truth, General. I have studied humans for decades now. They do not bluff about matters of survival. If we continue this war, they will drag us down with them. Vorath stood and walked to the viewing port. Outside, stars glittered in the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, ships were fighting and dying, human and alien crews struggling for victory in a war that served no one. I am old, Vorath said finally. I have served the Empire for 200 years. I have fought in 50 wars and conquered 100 worlds. And in all that time, I have never encountered a species like humans. You are young, primitive by our standards, but you have something we have lost. What is that? Sarah asked. The will to risk everything for what you believe in, Vorath replied. The Empire is old and comfortable. We fight to maintain what we have, not to create something new. But humans fight for ideas, for freedom, for dignity, for the right to determine your own future, and that makes you more dangerous than all our weapons. He turned back to face Sarah. I will recommend to the High Council that we accept your terms. I cannot guarantee they will agree, but I will argue that peace is in the Empire's best interest. Not because we fear defeat, but because continuing this war will destroy us both. That is all I can ask, Sarah said. The negotiations continued for 3 more days. Details were debated, boundaries were drawn, and protocols were established. Finally, the Treaty of Neutral Station was signed. The war was over. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity had fought the Galactic Empire to a standstill and won independence. It was unprecedented. It was impossible. It was real. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. 5 years of war, 5 years of sacrifice had finally ended. They had lost millions of lives, but they had won their freedom. The Terran Commonwealth was recognized as a sovereign nation, equal in status to the ancient Galactic Empire. But not everyone was celebrating. On dozens of worlds, other species watched the human victory with growing hope. If humans could resist the Empire, perhaps they could too. The rebellions that had started during the war began to intensify. Species after species demanded the same rights humanity had won. The Empire tried to maintain control, but the damage was done. The myth of imperial invincibility had been shattered. Within a generation, the Empire began to fracture. Some species negotiated independence peacefully, learning from the human example. Others fought for their freedom. The galaxy transformed from a unified empire into a collection of independent nations. 25 years after the Treaty of Neutral Station, the Galactic Empire officially dissolved. In its place arose the Galactic Federation, a voluntary association of sovereign species that worked together for mutual benefit, rather than being ruled by fear and force. Admiral Sarah Chen, now retired and living on Earth, watched the news of the Empire's dissolution with mixed feelings. She had not wanted to destroy the Empire. She had only wanted freedom for her people. But in fighting for that freedom, she had inspired a galactic revolution. A message arrived from Velthora, the former Imperial capital. It was from Ambassador Krell, now serving as the Federation's first Secretary of Unity. Admiral Chen, the message began. I thought you should know that we have erected a monument in the old council chambers, where I first warned about humanity 75 years ago. It displays my original report preserved in crystal, along with an inscription. To ignore wisdom is costly. To ignore it twice is fatal. Many species blamed humans for the Empire's fall. They said you destroyed galactic stability. But I know the truth. The Empire destroyed itself through arrogance and refusal to adapt. You simply accelerated a process that was inevitable. Your species taught the galaxy an important lesson. That strength does not come only from military might or technological superiority. True strength comes from the will to stand up for what you believe in, even against impossible odds. That lesson transformed the galaxy. I am an old being now, nearing the end of my life. But I am grateful I lived to see this transformation. The galaxy is messier now, less orderly than it was under the Empire, but it is also more free, more dynamic, more alive. That is humanity's gift to us all. Thank you, Admiral. Thank you for proving an old explorer right, even though the cost was terrible. The galaxy is better because humanity refused to surrender. Sarah sat in her garden on Earth, reading the message as the sun set over the mountains. Her granddaughter, also named Sarah, sat beside her. The young woman wore the uniform of the Terran Commonwealth Diplomatic Corps. She would be leaving soon for her first assignment on an alien world. Grandmother, young Sarah asked, do you regret the war? All the lives lost, all the destruction? The old admiral was quiet for a long moment. I regret every life lost, human and alien. War is always terrible, but I do not regret standing up for our freedom. If we had surrendered to Prefect Zahn's ultimatum all those years ago, humanity would be slaves. Instead, we are free. And because we fought for our freedom, hundreds of other species are free as well. Was it worth it?